Hello, this is Bill. Welcome back. In this video, you will learn how to add a little Visual Basic to help simplify data entry. The database that we'll be working on is a small clinic. It's broken down into two tables. One table is for the patients, and a second table is for the therapists or the doctors that work at the clinic. Let's assume you want to create a little form to allow someone to more easily enter the patient data into the table. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and press on the tab Create, and I'll go ahead and choose Form. Okay, at this point I'm going to go ahead and close my tables, and I'm going to go ahead and increase the width of this form here. Okay, the next step I'm going to do is come down here, and I'm going to press on this little icon, Form View, and now I could actually enter new data into the form. Okay, well, I've only got 10 patients in this clinic. Let's assume someone a new patient is walking through the door right now, and they want to see a doctor. At this point, I'm going to come over here and press on the new blank record icon, and I would have to give them a patient number, ask them for their name, gender, etc. And then eventually what I'm going to do is want to ask them for the zip code. And what would be really nice is when I ask them for the zip code and I press enter, it automatically fills in the city and the state. And there's no reason for that not to happen. If you tell me your zip code, I then know the city and the state where you live in. The opposite is not true. If you tell me the city that you live in, especially if it's a large city, I will not know for sure exactly what your zip code is. But there's no reason to be asking someone for the city and the state here if I know their zip code. And if you go on the web, you can easily find zip codes for all the United States with the zip code, the city, and the state listed there. Okay, well, let's assume we want to create this where it automatically fills in the city and the state. To do that, I'm going to press on this little icon over here called my Design View, and I'm going to scroll on down. I'm going to press on these little dots right here to deselect all of them. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and double click on zip code, and that's going to open up my property sheet. I can see the tab event is already selected, and I'm going to come right down here where it says on exit. I'm going to press on these three little dots, and that's going to open up my Choose Builder window, and I'm going to choose Code Builder, and I'll press OK, which is going to open up Visual Basic. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and type about 8-10 lines of code here. And the first thing I'm going to do is open up a file on my C drive in a subdirectory called temp. It's called zipcodes.txt. I'll tell you what, let me go ahead and show you this file. Okay, here the file is. This just happens to be I tried to, rather than showing you this entire document of all the zip codes in the United States, it just happened to be some places where I've lived at and a few other locations here. I've got Knoxville, Tennessee, Vail, Iowa, Tahlequah, Oklahoma. So anyway, let me go ahead and minimize this here momentarily, and I'll open that up here in a little bit. So I'm going to open up this file. I've got this on my temp drive, and I'm going to open it up for input. That's going to allow me to read the file, and I now need to give this a file number. I'm just going to give it the file number 1. And I'm going to go do while not EOF. Okay, while not into file. I'm going to go ahead and now read the first line of code, or the first line, and assign that to the variables temp1, temp2, and temp3. Let me go ahead and open up zip codes one more time here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to read the first line. This is going to go in temp1, the state's going to go in temp2, and the city is going to go in temp3. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to read that first line, and those values will be stored in temp1, temp2, temp3. I'm now going to take a look. Does temp1 equal the value in my form patient.zipcode? And if that is the case, if I got a match, if the value in that file matches what zip code the user has entered, I'm going to go ahead and do a little copy here. Highlight this information right here. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, at which point I can fill in the state, and that's going to be temp 2, and I can fill in the city, which will be temp 3, and my if, close my loop, and close the file there. Okay, so one more time, I'm going to open up the file here on my temp drive, for input. That's going to allow me to read the file. I need to give it a file number. I'm just going to assign it the file number 1. Do while not, EOF, stands for while not into file. I'm going to read the first line into temp 1, temp 2, and temp 3. If I've got a match, if temp 1, if the zip code on that first line matches the zip code that the user has entered in, I'm going to fill in the city and the state. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going through here. I'm going to look at line 2, line 3, line 4. If I get a match, I'm going to fill in the city and the state. Well, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and close Visual Basic, close my property sheet, and I'm going to come down here, press on the little icon, Form View. Okay, let me come back to record 11, and I'm going to come along and now put that exact same zip code, and when I hit the Enter key, notice how it is automatically filled in Tahlequah, Oklahoma there, based on the zip code there. Well, hopefully you learned a little in this video about how to integrate Visual Basic into Microsoft Access. I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.